Gracious God, we thank you for the opportunity to be here and to serve the people of Shiawassee County. Thank you for the resources and the people that you have entrusted to us and help us tonight to make decisions that reflect good stewardship of these resources. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen.
Amen. Madam Clerk, would you do the roll call, please?
Commissioner Webster.
Here.
Commissioner Holzhausen.
Here.
Commissioner Howard.
Here.
Commissioner Garber.
Here.
Commissioner Marks.
Here.
Commissioner Plowman.
Here.
Chairman Broder.
Here. Everyone is here. All right, at this time I'd be looking for a motion to approve the agenda as presented.
I'll make that motion, Mr. Chairman. Second.
I have a motion with support on approving the agenda. Any discussion or changes to the agenda today? Seeing none. All in favor of approving the agenda as is, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And the agenda is approved. At this time, I'll be looking for a motion to approve the minutes of the July 14, 2022 Board of Commissioners meeting.
So moved.
Support.
Move with support. Discussion on the minutes. All in favor of approving the minutes of July 14, 2022, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Those minutes are approved. I will also need a motion to approve the minutes for August 4, 2022 Board of Commissioners meeting.
So moved.
Support. Got a motion with support. Discussion on the minutes. Hearing none. All in favor of approving the August 4, 2022 Board of Commissioners meeting minutes, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? And those minutes are also approved. I'll be looking for approval of the bills. Commissioner Plowman, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I move to approve the invoice edit reports dated 7/12, 7/15, 7/22, 7/25, 7/26, 7/29, 8/5, 8/11, and 8/12, and authorize Treasury to draw warrants for the same for the total monies that includes wire transfers, EFTs, for a grand total of $6,478,574.37. This includes both batch and wire and EFTs. Second.
We have a motion with support on approving the bills. Any discussions or questions about the bills? Seeing none, roll call vote, please.
Commissioner Holzhausen.
Yes.
Commissioner Howard.
Yes.
Commissioner Garber.
Yes.
Commissioner Marks.
Yes.
Commissioner Plowman.
Yes.
Commissioner Webster.
Yes.
Chairman Broder.
Yes. Bills are unanimously approved. At this time, we have opportunity for public to address this board. Please limit your comment to 3 minutes. I have 2 slips here. One from, first would be Paula Brooks.
Hello, Paula Brooks from Durand. So apparently the 911 MERS is grossly underfunded for some unknown reason. One can only guess why, and they'd probably be correct. It also wasn't covered in the recent bond issue. As I recall, they have their own funding and couldn't be included. Up for approval tonight is using up to $1 million of their fund balance to reduce this liability. At last month's meeting, Mr. Holzhausen mentioned they were also considering fencing bulletproof glass in a parking lot. With today's inflated economy, I'm sure many citizens would say lower the 911 surcharges on their phones instead of the fluff items Mr. Holzhausen mentioned, or are they planning to use future fund balances to reduce even more of the overall $2 million previously mentioned MERS debt? Thank you.
Thank you. Next would be Bruce Westerlund. Excuse me.
Due to the short notice that I received that this meeting was in place, but as a long-term resident of New Haven Township, I just come to find out that we are going to place a solar farm in the property across from me. Now, I'm wondering if we're in the process this is this a done deal? Where is the process going right now for approval of that by the commissioners, or if it has to be approved by the commissioners, or does it go through the zoning board to be able to do this? There's a big consensus of residents in New Haven Township that are not for having solar farms out in our township. Hazelton has bore the brunt of what's going on in our county, and we're just trying to get ahead of what's happening and trying to get some information on where we're at in this process. So that's what my reason for coming to the meeting is tonight. Is there any, can anybody answer any questions concerning this, or is this
We don't-
only a
we don't
statement
directly-
only?
We don't generally directly answer questions. There is an opportunity after public, if the public speaks, an option for any commissioners who wish to reply or whatever.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. That would be all the slips, and so at this time, as I said, would any of the commissioners like to comment on matters that were brought up by the public today?
I would, yes. I find it insulting to the 911 board and to the 911 employees that there is an inference of fluff in their budget. I am strongly opposed to that reference, and I just want to say that it is absolutely not true. No fluff in the 911 budget. So, thank you.
Mr. Chairman, if I could, at this time, no permits have been pulled for any solar project in New Haven Township. Now, we have heard rumors that there are options that solar properties have bought, but that does not come through us, and until they pull a permit, the county has no part of that.
I'm trying to recall whether Hazelton is doing their own zoning or that's
You know, they're in New Haven.
or New Haven
New Haven is not.
is not.
They're under,
They're still under the county. They don't do their own. Okay. All right.
And I just wanted to reiterate that when I talk about my committee reports, you'll see that we've taken a break on the planning commission for the past 2 months because there have been no permits to come before the board. So
of any type.
of any type. So we have not heard anything of any official movement on a solar farm anywhere in the county that's under county jurisdiction for zoning.
Anyone else? All right, then we're going to move on. Commissioner Howard, as long as you had already started, why don't we start with you today?
Same thing. The planning commission has been on a break, an unexpected summer break for the past 2 months. The July meeting had no applications come forward, and the August meeting we had one, and the applicant asked to move it to September. So we're on a break again for August.
Okay.
So it's a surprise break for all of us.
Commissioner Holzhausen?
Yeah, I'm on the 911 board, and they're just trying to get the MERS caught up since they got extra funds. And I'm also on the senior citizen board. I think they're having little problems over there. We get the food from Gordon Foods, and there's backlogs, they can't get it, and they're having problems with the menus and everything else, and going to local places to get food, so that's kind of a real big problem. I don't know when it's going to change. And
Commissioner Garber?
Yeah, so yesterday at the veterans meeting, one of the topics that we discussed, that we have discussed reoccurring, is that we are now down to 3 volunteer drivers. Usually we have 9, so 3 is not working. We are turning veterans away and trying to get them with transportation solutions, through SATA. Sometimes that works, sometimes it doesn't. So kind of brainstorming as to what we can do to alleviate that. We have somebody actively recruiting volunteers, going out to service organizations. I mean, he's gonna go to the library, the church, just really try any avenue to get volunteers. But I kind of feel like in an environment where we can barely get employees getting volunteers, and these are long days. These are taking veterans to Saginaw, to Flint, sometimes both in the same day. So I don't know. It's something I'm going to talk about probably every month until we find a solution for that. It may mean a part-time employee. It may mean that we can't provide transportation. I don't know at this point. One of the things that did come up, so there is a process for volunteers to go through. And we have the DAV van and we have the county van. So we use the same process for the DAV van. And that goes through Saginaw, and it's stringent. So the question was kind of raised, do we have to have that same requirement for our county van? So that's something that I'm gonna look at this month. I don't wanna say lower requirements, but can we streamline that process?
I know that the veterans have a fairly healthy fund balance, but I don't know what all the strings are on how they can spend the money from the different accounts. Is it an option for them to use some of that money for a paint dryer?
If we approve, this board would have to approve that, but yes, it would be an option. But then, so how is that for the volunteers too? It's gonna be like, you know. So you volunteer 8 hours a day, you get paid. So, I mean, I think that might be the way to go, but I
Might
don't-
have to be.
Right, so, I don't know, nothing I'm gonna, want you guys to commit to today, but
Sure.
just kind of.
But thank you
where-
for giving us the heads up on that.
Yep.
Commissioner Webster, I would jump over to you.
I don't have anything new to report this month.
Commissioner Marks?
Same.
I have a few things. Parks and Rec Master Plan Group has been meeting quite often, and we hope to have our master plan rough draft by the end of October, and presentation in November, December, but it's moving right along. Phil Hathaway's doing an excellent job, and everybody who's volunteered has been there. That's pretty good. Shiawassee County Road Commission, just a couple of things. Next year's bridges they're going to rebuild is bridge in Bennington, over Bennington Road over Bear Creek. Never heard of Bear Creek. Duran Road over the Northwood Creek. Those bridges will be rebuilt next year. Also, with the M21 being completed, the State Highway Department released more funds, and they're going to do State to Gould at $985,000, and that'll commence as quick as possible. And Chestnut to Delaney on 21, and that's $365,000, and they will do that at the same time they do State to Gould. And then GSR Workforce, we did not meet. We meet next month. I-69 corridor, if they had more buildings, I think they could have more factories, so on and so forth. So that's my report.
Thank you very much. All right, I'd like to move on to our committee motions. Commissioner Marks, would you get us started?
Yes, I will, sir. At this time, I'll make a motion to appoint recommended members to the Construction Board of Appeals as presented: Jeremy Morgan, Justin Jones, and Jeff Peltier.
Support.
Motion support, discussion on that. We need a roll call on this one?
No.
I didn't think so. All right, all in favor of those appointments signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And we have unanimous passage of that.
All right. Then I will make a motion, to appoint Greg Broder, Cameron Horvath, Julie Sorensen, Jerry Meyer, and Mark Frazier to the Brownfield Redevelopment Board.
Support.
We got a motion with support, discussion on those appointments. Let me just remind everybody that what that is doing is it's taking our land bank board and also appointing them to the Brownfield board for the sake of efficiency. Any other discussion or questions? All in favor of those appointments signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None, and I will abstain on that vote. It passes.
Very good. I will move then to approve the minutes of the August 15, 2022 Economic and Physical Development Committee meeting.
Support.
Motion with support on approval of the minutes of August 15, 2022. Discussion of those. Hearing none, all in favor of approving those minutes signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And the minutes are approved. Commissioner Plowman.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I move to approve the replacement of 3 correctional deputies not to exceed step 3.
Support.
We have a motion with support. Discussion on the replacement of those correctional deputies. Hearing none, roll call vote, please.
Commissioner Howard,
Yes.
Commissioner Garber,
Yes.
Commissioner Marks,
Yes.
Commissioner Tallman,
Yes.
Commissioner Webster,
Yes.
Commissioner Holzhausen,
Yes.
Chairman Broder.
Yes.
I move to approve the payment to MERS for 911 an amount not to exceed $1 million from 911 fund balance.
Support.
We have a motion with support. Discussion. Dr. Boggs, did you want to say a couple words about this? No?
Well, I mean, their fund balance is, last I looked, around 3.2 or 3.8 million dollars. So this is a good way to take care of some of their liabilities while leaving them still money for emergencies, etc.
Yes, as I pointed out, that this is another $1 million in county debt that is now being paid off. So all these payments that pays down our debt is a wonderful thing.
I would also add that we have, Commissioner Plowman and myself, and working with Angie Norling, have put in an additional $1 million for next year's budget, so that will be in the budget for approval from that fund balance, and they hope to add to their fund balance at the end of this year. So hopefully that will be paid off within the next 2 years.
These are all great things. It's like when you have your personal credit card when you were young and you ran it up too much, and then as you got a little older and you watched the balance go down and go down. So we're headed in the right direction. I like it. Other discussion? Roll call vote on that, please.
Commissioner Garber,
Yes.
Commissioner Marks,
Yes.
Commissioner Plowman,
Yes.
Commissioner Webster,
Yes.
Commissioner Holzhausen,
Yes.
Commissioner Howard,
Yes.
Chairman Broder.
Yes.
I move to approve the salary consideration as outlined in the letter and SE
Set.
set. The per diem set, okay. All under-
I missed that T, my fault.
Yeah, okay. And set the per diem rate at $50 per meeting for all meetings except out-of-county meetings at $65 for the Shiawassee County Road Commission.
Support.
A motion with support. Discussion or comment on that item?
There was one thing so as part of that letter, it talked about the health insurance benefits and the payout in lieu of that, so none of that is all staying the same, because we didn't really discuss that.
Yeah, that's
so.
staying the same, what they've had for years.
Okay, that's staying the same. We basically, at this point, their base has gotten raised, pretty much the level of inflation. It hadn't been raised since 2004, and their per diems are going to be set the same as this board. So the road commission and this board will be on parity there. Other discussion? Roll call vote, please.
Commissioner Marks,
Yes.
Commissioner Plowman,
Yes.
Commissioner Webster,
Yes.
Commissioner Holzhausen,
Yes.
Commissioner Howard,
Yes.
Commissioner Garber,
Yes.
Chairman Broder.
Yes.
I move to approve the minutes of the August 15, 2022 Finance Administration Committee meeting.
Support.
I have a motion with support. Any discussions, changes in the minutes? Hearing none, all in favor of approving the minutes, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, and the minutes are approved. Commissioner Webster.
I move to approve the appointment of Chief Kyle Box and Justin Horvath to the Community Corrections Advisory Board.
Support.
Got a motion with support. Discussion on that item. Just wanted to comment, I was at the Community Corrections Advisory Board, and I think they're gonna do a lot of good work. All in favor of approving those appointments signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Those appointments are approved.
I move to approve the creation of the Pretrial Services Department, a subdivision of general county government under the direction of county administration once the opioid settlement funds have been received by the county, and set a budget in an amount not to exceed the settlement amount.
Support.
I have a motion with support. Discussion on that item. Again, I point out that it is going to be paid for by the opioid settlement. We have sort of strict requirements on how we spend that settlement, and this is a very good way to do that. A roll call vote, please.
Commissioner Plowman,
Yes.
Commissioner Webster,
Yes.
Commissioner Holzhausen,
Yes.
Commissioner Howard,
Yes.
Commissioner Garber,
Yes.
Commissioner Marks,
Yes.
and Chairman Broder.
Yes.
I move to approve the minutes of the August 16th, 2022 Public Safety and Courts meeting.
Support.
Motion with support. Discussion or changes in the minutes? Hearing none, all in favor of approving those minutes, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Minutes are approved. Thank you, Commissioner Webster. Commissioner Garber.
All right, I move that we approve the contract renewal with Shiawassee Regional Education Service District for hearing and vision screening for an amount not to exceed $14,560 and authorize the board chair to execute the contract.
Support.
Got a motion with support. Discussion on that contract renewal. Roll call vote, please.
Commissioner Webster,
Yes?
Commissioner Olshausen,
Yes.
Commissioner Howard,
Yes.
Commissioner Garber,
Yes.
Commissioner Marks,
Yes.
Commissioner Plowman,
Yes.
Chairman Broder.
Yes.
I move that we approve the contract renewal with Shiawassee Health and Wellness for social work services as part of the Perry School's Child and Adolescent Health Program and an amount not to exceed $84,154 and authorize the board chair to execute the contract.
Support.
I have a motion with support. Discussion on that item. Roll call vote, please.
Commissioner Olshausen,
Yes.
Commissioner Howard,
Yes.
Commissioner Garber,
Yes.
Commissioner Marks,
Yes.
Commissioner Plowman,
Yes.
Commissioner Webster,
Yes?
Chairman Broder.
Yes.
I move that we approve the contract renewal with Shiawassee Health and Wellness for social work services as part of the Duran School Wellness Program in an amount not to exceed $84,154 and authorize the board chair to execute that contract.
Support.
I have a motion with support. Discussion on that item. Roll call vote, please.
Commissioner Howard,
Yes.
Commissioner Garber,
Yes.
Commissioner Marks,
Yes.
Commissioner Plowman,
Yes.
Commissioner Webster,
Yes?
Commissioner Olshausen,
Yes.
Chairman Broder.
Yes.
I move that we approve the contract renewal with Connie Brown for dietitian services in the WIC program and authorize the board chair to execute that contract.
Support.
Motion with support. Any discussion? Roll call vote, please.
Commissioner Garber,
Yes.
Commissioner Marks,
Yes.
Commissioner Plowman,
Yes.
Commissioner Webster,
Yes?
Commissioner Olshausen,
Yes.
Commissioner Howard,
Yes.
Chairman Broder.
Yes.
I move that we approve the hiring of a public health nurse 2 at a grade 9.
Support.
A motion with support. Discussion on hiring a nurse. Roll call vote, please.
Commissioner Marks,
Yes.
Commissioner Plowman,
Yes.
Commissioner Webster,
Yes?
Commissioner Olshausen,
Yes.
Commissioner Howard,
Yes.
Commissioner Garber,
Yes.
and Chairman Broder.
Yes.
I move that we approve the minutes of the August 16th, 2022 Health and Human Services Committee meeting.
Support.
Motion with support. Any discussion on the minutes? All in favor of approving those minutes signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And those minutes are approved. All right, Commissioner Marks, back to you,
Thank you,
please.
sir. I move to approve the minutes of the August 17, 2022 committee of the whole meeting.
Support.
Motion with support. Discussion on the minutes of August 17, 2022. Hearing none. All in favor of approving those minutes signify by saying aye. Opposed? And those are passed.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. That concludes my report.
Very good. At this point, I had a couple of things to say. As is my turn, just wanted to let you know we're moving forward very nicely with land bank. As you know, we're reconstitute the brownfield development. All of that for some very important development in our community that I think is going to pay some serious dividends in the next couple of years. I also wanted to sort of remind you and see if anybody would like to discuss or throw ideas out regarding something I brought up a meeting or two ago regarding how we handle our meetings, how we do our board. I said that I felt that the way we do things Monday through Thursday, we end up with a de facto committee of the whole 3 times, and then we have our Thursday meeting where we finalize things. I personally am not all that satisfied with it, and I had a couple of possibilities, but I wondered if any of you thought about that and would like to weigh in. I'd like to, by the end of the year, if we want to do some reorganization, go into next year with a new plan for how our meetings will go. Does anybody have any thoughts or feelings regarding what? Commissioner?
They used to meet twice a month, do the same thing. And then now,
Really?
yes, they went over it twice. I mean, I ain't kidding you, they did the same thing like we do the week, and they did it twice. They did vacant a week and then they did another week, so I don't know how much we should cut it down.
Can I assume you're not thinking of going back to that?
No, but I don't know how much, if you wanna trim it down more yet.
I mean, if everybody thinks it's fine.
Some counties still do that.
Yeah,
I've looked at surrounding counties.
we could have
and-
maybe all of them on Monday or Tuesday or something like that, all 4 of them instead of just 2, you know, that's a possibility, so.
I don't know, but we've sat here in finance for 2 hours, so.
That's true,
it-
sometimes it runs really long.
And we've all got meetings, a lot of times that we have to get to, 5:30,
Sometimes it's 5
6,
minutes and
7,
sometimes it's
you
quite
know.
quite a while, I know.
And we have other county boards that meet in this room, and we have at times had our people that we struggle to get to serve on boards standing out there waiting to get into here, so. A lot of things to think about.
I think it's been working smooth.
I think Commissioner Webster.
Yep, I was heading over that.
You go ahead.
I was just gonna offer some perspective, so I have some other clients.
Please do.
That's the only thing I would say is putting a little bit of distance between your preliminary meetings, your committee of the whole or your committee meetings, and your final meeting. That might help a little bit in certain situations because you have a little bit more time to tweak things as they go through the committee and a meaningful time to turn them around for a final decision.
So like a committee of the whole the week before the final meeting?
I have some that do it a couple days before. You know, I know that going into having 2 weeks where you're trying to schedule meetings over 2 weeks is very difficult, but it's just something I've seen others do. So I do think that your process works. From what I've seen, it's been pretty efficient in moving towards decisions and things like that. You know, things haven't really lingered, so I guess that's, from what I see, positive.
So I've already shared this with Chairman Roeder and we met this afternoon to talk about it. I think that it could be useful to make the committee agendas a little bit looser. So for instance, last night, Commissioner Garber brought a great topic in regard to the whole trail piece of property that we own thing. That probably would be a economic and fiscal development thing. But rather than locking in, like we have to submit everything by Wednesday, the week before, if the committee had some flexibility to have additional things brought, so there was discussion at the meeting about, hey, here's this, and here's this, and here's this, maybe input from department heads, so at economic and physical development, you know, we always have Pete Preston there, but anybody else who might have an interest in that committee could bring potential agenda items that committee would discuss, and then vote on what they want to move on to the committee of the whole. So that not every motion would be formulated before we get to that committee, in other words. And the committee would be comprised of, so if you serve on public safety and courts, that would be the people who are on the 911 board, the Community Corrections Advisory Board, so that we're acting as a liaison from those boards we serve on to our committee, rather than, you know, you're on Public Safety and Courts Committee, but you really serve on the Veterans Board and the SCOA Board and the BAAA Board, which are all Health and Human Services related. So if those things were aligned a little more, then you're bringing items from those entities to your committee when you meet. That would be a suggestion I would have. Not necessarily, I mean, I do like the idea of moving a little distance. It also, I think, allows more public input and questions if we've had committee meetings and then we have board, but I get that then we're spreading meetings out over 2 weeks. So I think a little tweak in just how we are organized and how the committee work happens, so you could have more discussion like we had last night. That wasn't on the agenda, but that should be okay at a committee, to have discussion about those things. So maybe we would do our committee reports, instead of doing them here, at whatever committees we're on.
That's a little bit like what I thought I'd try early on in my chairmanship, but didn't really work, and that was the idea that I wanted my fellow commissioners to have a chance, a place to simply bring up matters of concern and things they thought we should work on and things we should. So perhaps that sort of thing could work. I mean, on the other hand, maybe I'm trying to fix something that isn't broken here. And if that's the consensus, that there really isn't something. It just feels to me like we meet in finance meets on Monday, and we all contribute as if even though only 3 people vote, all the discussion happens then. That seems like it should happen on Wednesday, and I don't want to muzzle my fellow commissioners in any way, and yet it seems like,
Sometimes you do.
well, yes, but I didn't want to mention you specifically.
Ooh, walk into that one.
That's all right.
I think it's working, Greg, because I mean, I do bring things, you know, I brought that up today about the transportation because I want all my fellow commissioners to know I brought up about that. So I think in that respect it's working. I mean, I don't ever feel like I can't just throw something out there.
Again, if the consensus is we're good with the way it works, we'll just go into next year.
I fix something that's not broke, so.
Right, maybe I'm trying to fix something that isn't broken, and that's just fine. If everybody's satisfied with how things work, then we'll probably leave things alone. I do have one small recommendation for next year's organizational meeting, and that would be whoever is the chair at that time to not have to come the same day with committee assignments. That should be something that there's some time for some serious considerations, talk to fellow commissioners. As Commissioner Webster rightly points out, try to align people's assignments with the committees there, the board assignments. And that's going to take a little time, and it will also take consultation, rather than just here's a list, everybody gets what you got.
Oh yeah, some people don't. You know, these boards, we don't set what times they meet. Some of them meet at noon, meet at 2, meet at 3. I mean.
And
Commissioners that work during the day, they're not going to be able to do that.
That's right. So that might be something we also consider, taking our time a little bit more after our organizational meeting, setting a more reasonable time for everyone to get their committee assignments. I would at least suggest that for next year. All right, I will not take any more of your time on that one. I might bring it up again if anybody has any further thoughts at meetings in the future. So if everybody can think about it, that would be great. Thank you for indulging me on that. Dr. Boggs, did you have anything?
2 real quick things. I gave my report yesterday, but do mark your calendars for September 1st at 5 p.m. We met with our architect, and we will have a contract for the board's consideration on the Veterans Facility on September 1 that outlines everything and will allow us to spend that money before the deadline. We've taken arrangements, or made arrangements to do that. Second, we do have a closed session here shortly to discuss police contracts with the Sheriff's Department. But before we go into that, we have several members of the law enforcement community here with us tonight. And since the board doesn't get to see them often, perhaps the chair would indulge letting them say their name and where they work so that some of the commissioners can know who they are.
I would very much appreciate that, especially since at the moment we're moving into public comments. So if anyone would like to introduce yourself to the board, please stand and do so.
Start on one side.
Name and what you do, maybe a little bit about yourself.
Brian Smith, I'm a sergeant with the Sheriff's Office, been there 23 years, around 23 years now. Assigned to various duties, been road patrol right now.
Thank you.
Lauren Shelley, Road Patrol, I've been there since 2007.
Deputy Kirby, Road Patrol, came here a year and a half ago, came from Genesee County, also worked part-time in Joanne PD.
In uniform, but Tammy Wilson, jail administrator, been there going on 23 years as well, and I think I've met everybody. Maybe not you.
I'm Keith Hansen, the detective lieutenant, 20 years too.
I'm Sean Gifford, I'm a detective sergeant in the Sheriff's Office. I've been here going on my 6th year.
I'm Jenny Coleman, I'm a dispatch supervisor, been here 9 years. I'm Sean McCain, I'm Angie Norland, the 911 director. I've been here for about 12 years. Janelle James, 911 dispatch, 4 years.
Kristen Drake, and I'm just finishing up my 22nd year, and I'm a dispatch supervisor.
That's it.
Is that it? Anybody else? A lot of you folks have been around for a while. That's great. Thank you very much for coming today, introducing yourselves. We appreciate it. This is the second call for public comment. I see I have no new slips up here. I guess that means there isn't anyone. So then we'll close out the second opportunity for public comment, and I would be looking for a motion to move us into a closed session so that we can discuss these contract issues.
Mr. Chairman, I would move that the board meet in closed session pursuant to Section 8C of the Open Meetings Act to discuss strategy connected with pending negotiation of collective bargaining agreements with Eric Morris, with Bron Kendrick, Brian Boggs, and Carolyn Wilson to be allowed to attend the closed session.
Support?
I have a motion with support about going to a closed session. Any discussion about that? This time I'd ask for a roll call vote, please.
Commissioner Plowman,
Yes.
Commissioner Webster,
Yes.
Commissioner Holzhausen,
Yes.
Commissioner Howard,
Yes.
Commissioner Garber,
Yes.
Commissioner Marks,
Yes.
Chairman Broder.
Yes.
The Red Sea Party.
All right, at this time, we will be going to closed session, and everyone who wasn't specifically.
If the meeting announcement, the meeting is not, of course, over.
Yeah.
We will come back from closed session and
Yes.
adjourn, so if you do, and
Thank
there
you
will be
for
potential
reminding
for
me.
action on items, so the meeting is not over, it will be reopened. If you want to stay, please
The
feel
door
free.
will be closed, but we will reopen it after we vote to come back into open session.
Yes.
So everyone is welcome to wait and come back in.